In this section, I will explain how the report identifies the sources and methods of disinformation and provides recommendations to counter them. Disinformation is incorrect information purposely spread by malicious actors, while misinformation is incorrect information spread by people who believe it to be true. Both can have negative impacts on the Canadian Armed Forces, CAF, such as undermining their credibility, morale, recruitment, and retention. The report identifies two main sources of disinformation that target the CAF: foreign adversaries and homegrown actors. Foreign adversaries, such as Russia and China, use disinformation to weaken the CAF's alliances, influence public opinion, and disrupt military operations. Homegrown actors, such as extremist groups, conspiracy theorists, and disgruntled former members, use disinformation to erode trust in the CAF, sow division within the ranks, and recruit new members. The report also identifies several methods of disinformation that are used against the CAF, such as social media campaigns that spread false or misleading narratives about the CAF's activities, policies, and values. Cyber attacks that hack, leak, or manipulate sensitive information or systems belonging to the CAF or its partners. Psychological operations that exploit the cognitive biases and emotions of the CAF members and the public to influence their behavior. Propaganda training exercises that simulate scenarios involving fake threats or enemies to test the CAF's readiness and response. The report provides several recommendations to counter disinformation and improve the CAF's information operations, such as developing a comprehensive strategy that integrates information operations into all aspects of the CAF's planning and execution. Enhancing the CAF's capabilities to detect, analyze, and respond to disinformation in a timely and effective manner. Increasing the CAF's transparency and accountability to build trust and credibility with the public and the media. Educating and training the CAF members and the public on how to recognize and resist disinformation and misinformation. Collaborating with allies, partners, and stakeholders to share best practices and coordinate actions against disinformation. By implementing these recommendations, the report argues that the CAF can better protect itself and its mission from the growing threat of disinformation. This concludes this section of the video. Thank you for watching. How the Canadian Armed Forces can enhance their resilience and readiness against disinformation threats. Disinformation is a deliberate attempt to manipulate public opinion with false or misleading information. It can undermine trust, erode morale, and damage reputation. It can also pose a threat to national security and democracy. The Canadian Armed Forces, CAF, are not immune to disinformation. In fact, they are often targeted by both foreign and domestic actors who seek to influence their actions, discredit their operations, or sow division within their ranks. For example, in 2020, a report prepared for Defence Research and Development Canada found that the CAF were poorly placed and inadequately prepared to guard against misinformation and disinformation campaigns. The report also warned that failing to address the issue could lead to greater dissatisfaction within the ranks, make it harder for the CAF to retain members, and deepen an already serious recruitment crisis. Another example of disinformation targeting the CAF was the military campaign to influence public opinion during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a directive released by the Acting Chief of the Defence Staff and the Deputy Minister of Defence in 2021, the military deployed propaganda techniques in Canada without approval during the pandemic and gathered information about Canadians' online activities without permission from authorities. The directive admitted that the military went too far and violated federal rules. A third example of disinformation affecting the CAF is the rise of white nationalism and extremism within the military. A report by the Canadian Centre for Security and Intelligence Studies in 2019 found that white nationalism is an active threat to the CAF, but the force's counterintelligence unit is under-resourced and unable to proactively deal with it. The report also noted that white nationalist groups often use online platforms to recruit and radicalize members of the military. These examples show that disinformation is a serious challenge for the CAF and that they need to enhance their resilience and readiness against it. But how can they do that? Here are some possible ways. Develop a comprehensive strategy for information operations that integrates public affairs, civil-military cooperation, intelligence, cyber, and psychological operations. The strategy should define clear roles and responsibilities, establish ethical guidelines and oversight mechanisms, and align with national and international laws and norms. Educate and train members of the CAF on how to identify, counter, and report disinformation. The education and training should cover topics such as media literacy, critical thinking, digital security, and cultural awareness. The education and training should also foster a culture of trust, transparency, and accountability within the CAF. Engage with allies, partners, civil society, academia, and media to share best practices, exchange information, and coordinate responses to disinformation. The engagement should aim to build mutual understanding, respect, and cooperation among different stakeholders. The engagement should also leverage existing platforms and initiatives such as NATO's Strategic Communications Centre of Excellence or Canada's Digital Citizen Initiative. Monitor and assess the impact of disinformation on the CAF's operations, personnel, reputation, and public support. The monitoring and assessment should use both quantitative and qualitative methods to measure indicators such as trust levels, morale levels, retention rates, recruitment rates, operational effectiveness, media coverage, and public opinion. The monitoring and assessment should also provide feedback and recommendations for improvement. By implementing these measures, the CAF can enhance their resilience and readiness against disinformation threats. They can also protect their integrity, credibility, and legitimacy as a professional military force that serves Canadians with honor.